All right, welcome to the podcast today. I'm your host, Chelsea Peterson from Cache Valley Counseling, and this is The Puzzle of Us. I'm excited to talk to you today. It's a new year. Happy New Year. We're in the year 2023. How crazy is that? I don't know where the year goes. I swear, everyone says that all the time, but year 2023, here we are. And with the new year also comes a lot of reflecting on what worked in the past year, what didn't work, what changes you want to make for the upcoming year. And your relationship really shouldn't be any different than that. Your relationship oftentimes gets put on the back burner, and when couples come into my office, they say, we thought we were okay, thought we were doing okay, we just got busy in the throes of life. And so now is a good time at the beginning of the year to just kind of reflect on, where are we going as a couple? How do I feel as a couple? Oftentimes I'll hear people say, I thought we were doing okay. I didn't see this coming when, trials or various things come up in their relationship. Oftentimes couples didn't really expect it, right? They didn't see it coming. They feel blindsided by it. And so the first of the year is a great time to really sit down and talk to your partner about what relationship goals do we have together. Some people will ask, do we even have a good relationship? What does a good relationship look like? Whether our parents had a good relationship or they didn't have a good relationship, or whether we were raised by grandparents or caregivers or whatever. Maybe we don't know what a good relationship looks like. How do we know that we have a good relationship? How do we know that we have a healthy relationship? I feel like couples saying that they feel confident in having a good relationship is very much similar to how women sometimes are not very nice to yourself, right? Women often, they say, do I look fat in this dress? Or that's kind of the taboo thing, right? And of course you don't want to say, well, yeah, it doesn't look flattering on you, right? And so not very often do you hear people sit down and say, dang, I look good today, and feel confident in their body, feel confident in themselves. And relationships are a lot the same way. A lot of times people question whether or not they're doing the right thing, or how their relationship is, or do we have a healthy relationship, or do we not have a healthy relationship, or what does that look like, and what does that mean? And again, this beginning of the year 2023, this is a great time to kind of sit down and evaluate, where am I at in my relationship? Am I happy? What do I need to be happier? What do I need to feel safe, secure, loved by my partner? What sort of things are they doing that's really helping me feel that way? And so it's also a great time to set goals together as a couple. Goals specifically to, what do I need for my relationship to help it be more fulfilling in my life? And so we're going to talk a little bit about, what does that look like? Why is that important? How can that help you, right? We're going to start by defining what a relationship goal is, right? Like, there's all these sorts of goals, like there's SMART goals, right? They're attainable and measurable. And those are all great, but a relationship specific goal is something that has to do with what you want to experience in your relationship. What do you want to achieve? What do you want to learn? How do you want to grow your relationship, specific to your relationship? If it's attainable and if it's, well, of course you want it to be attainable, but if you want it to be measurable, right? If there's something that you can measure, like we want to go on a date night once a week for the entire year. So we want to go on 52 dates this year, right? If you want to make it measurable, great. We want to have sex 5 times a week. That's something that's measurable, right? So you could set limits or time frames, or, for the next 3 months, we want to read a new book every night together, or we want to, there are certain things that you can do that can be measurable, whether it be a length of time or a number of times. Those things can be important. But really looking at the goal. What goal do I want, or do we want as a couple to really focus on. What do I need to feel happy in my relationship? I want to be able to come home and feel excited about coming home. Maybe even looking back at, years that, what were we doing 8 years ago or 10 years ago or 20 years ago or last year? What did we do that made me excited to be around you? What were, maybe we criticized each other less. Maybe we were more supportive. Maybe we were, maybe we touched more, right? Maybe we held hands in the car. Maybe you opened the door for me. All these little things, they go away with time if we don't keep up with them. And so really focusing on, again, the things that make your relationship work, things that make it comfortable, things that make it feel safe, things that make it feel like I'm excited to be around my partner. What are the things that, what does that look like? So coming to know that for yourself individually is an important part of this. So how this might look, a lot of couples will ask me, well, we've never done goal setting before. We've never talked about goals that we want to achieve. I always encourage couples to do fun goals because it's always fun to dream and scheme together, right? Like long-term goals, like when we retire, how do we want to spend our retirement? If you're close to retirement, that might be sooner than you think, or closer than you think. If you're 20, 30 years removed from retiring, then maybe it's just dreaming. What does that look like? Do we get an RV and travel the United States? Do we spend all of our time going on various cruises? Do we spend time at our kids' places because we know that they live all over the globe, or whatever it might be? However that looks for you, right? Being able to sort of dream and scheme together of, what do we want that to look like? What do we expect that to look like? What might feel like it's the most fulfilling for us? Maybe we want to spend the whole time hunting and fishing somewhere, or we want to spend every month in a new place. Whatever that may be, it really, the possibilities for any couple is endless, and it's your life to dream. And that's the fun part, is like, what do you guys like to do together? What do your retirement or growing old together, or raising kids, right? You're in the middle of raising kids. I don't want to be the grumpy old mom, right? Like, I want to be the fun mom. And what does that look like? And how do we set limits and discipline our kids in a way that helps teach them, that helps them grow, but also teaches them to be responsible humans? What does that look like, right? And so setting down and setting these goals, whether it be parenting goals, whether it be, all sorts of goals, those are all things, the beginning of the new year is a great time to do that. But specifically with couples goals, thinking about, you got together, you got married for a reason. Maybe you're not married. Maybe you've just been together for a while. You enjoyed your partner for at least a time, or you wouldn't still be together. What was it about those times that you really admired in your partner? What sort of things did you really like about the relationship? What sort of things excited you? And write them down. Think about them individually before you go into some sort of planning session, right? We're going to talk a little bit about various ways to do this planning, like goal setting, right? Because it can be very overwhelming because sometimes we don't even know where to start. And so one of the things that can be really helpful before sitting down together as a couple and creating these goals is really thinking individually, taking that time, getting a piece of paper, writing about the times that I felt comfortable, that I felt safe, that I felt needed, wanted, loved, supported, right? What did that look like? Specifically, what was my partner doing that was helping me? What was I doing? How was my stress levels? What was I doing in my life to be more open to receiving that? Over the years, relationships are going to go through their different tests and trials, and we are going to be emotionally tested. And our trust may be tested in our partners. And so working through some of that. I that's how I used to be. I want to get back to that. But I had this thing happen, or we had this thing happen that it makes it really difficult. Can we overcome that? Can we together talk about how that is hard, or how that has been hard in our relationship? And can we both be open to that feedback? Some various ways that you can do this. You could sit down. Sometimes people like to do vision boards, right? And so they get a whole bunch of magazines and they get all their, poster boards or 11, it doesn't matter, a sheet of paper of some sort, and they put all of their things in it that they want. They cut out pictures, they cut out words, they cut out things. And sometimes doing this together all as a family, or doing this together just even as a couple, sometimes that helps it be a little bit more concrete. Something that you can hang up, something that you can look at, that might be helpful for you. Sometimes, that feels too overwhelming to get all the magazines and cut everything out and spend the time to go through it or glue it or do whatever it is. Sometimes it's just too overwhelming. So sometimes people like to just sit down, and even almost like a business meeting, or kind of like a think tank, right? Of like, what does make our relationship good? Sometimes people do this at a date night. They plan to go somewhere and do it at a restaurant somewhere. I would certainly encourage doing it somewhere where you're going to have little to no interruptions, because the more interruptions you have, the longer it's going to take, the more frustrating it's going to be. So one couple that I have, actually, every year they get a hotel room towards the beginning of the year, beginning of January sometime, and they spend the night together and thinking and goal setting about what they want their relationship to really look like. They write down goals for individually. What do I want to work on as a person? Maybe I want to read books this year, or read more books this year. What does that look like? How do I need support from my partner? Maybe I want to learn a new skill. Maybe I take a photography class, or I go back to school and take a class somewhere, whether that be at a college somewhere, or whatever it might be. Individually, what am I working on? This is what this couple does. So individually, they set goals for themselves, and then they talk about, what support do I need from my partner in that? If I'm going to take a Tuesday night class and we have kids at home, what is that going to require of our relationship? What is that going to require? What is that going to look like in our family? And so setting those individual goals and getting support from your partner can be a huge success in being fulfilled individually, right? And feeling like my partner really does support me, they love me, they're here to help me. And so that's a great way to do that. And then again, setting those relationship goals. What do we want to be better at? We want to be that cute little couple that everyone, compares themselves to. So what does that look like? When we're at home, we sit next to each other, and we always are holding hands, or I always let you open the door for me, or I'm always, I always make sure that you have your favorite Tuesday night tacos, or whatever it might be. Those little things, whether it be things that you sacrifice for each other or things that you do for each other, but things that, and really doing it, setting a goal to do it, but doing it because, again, I care about my partner and I want to make our relationship better. A lot of couples, they touch a lot more when they're dating and when they're first, newlyweds and things like that. And so a great goal for a lot of couples that I like to see them set is to touch more often, right? And that can be, we get kids that sit between us, or we're just driving someplace and we're just trying to get there, right? And so we don't hold hands. And then the next time we get in the car, we don't hold hands again. And that becomes then the habit and the routine of, it's just awkward to hold hands when we're driving in the car, yet we held hands for years, or for the first 2 years that we were married, or whatever it might be. So really focusing on, what is it? Do we flirt more? Do we, what sort of things turn me on? What sort of things get me ready for more sex in the bedroom? Do we want more sex in the bedroom? Is that a goal that we want? What does that look like? Can we set a goal for that? Can we be more open in sexually with each other in the bedroom, or intimately? Can we, do we set a ritual or expectation that every time we leave the house, we embrace in some way, whether that be a hug or a kiss, or we have a mutual, exchange of, hi, I'm here, or I'm going, and there's a ritual of coming and goings. Sometimes, the more we kind of have these touch points that we come back to each other, like rituals of comings and goings, it just makes us feel noticed. It helps us feel like, oh, my partner sees me. Oh, my partner cares that I actually even just came in the door. Even if I have to go seek out my partner, if I'm the one coming home and saying, hey, just wanted to let you know I'm home and I care about you and I see you and you're home and you've been home doing laundry all day long, or cleaning up barf from sick kids, or whatever it might be, working in the yard, whatever it might be. I see you, I'm here, I'm ready to connect, is kind of what those rituals can say. And so setting up those goals, right? What do you want to do more together as a couple? Again, that could be date nights, that could be time spent together, that could be, can we set some fun goals as well of, we're going to set a goal to go on a trip. What can we do to budget together, right? If you've got one partner who really wants to make a trip happen and one partner who has no idea that the trip is happening and is spending money like crazy or whatever, then it's not fun, right? So can we do that together? Can we make this team feeling, right? Of, we have this goal to go to Rome. And because I want to go to Rome or Greece or whatever, I want to go to this exotic place, and it costs a lot of money, I want to help my partner get on board with that too. And what do? Make it a game, make it fun, make it like, how much money can we save this month for this trip or for this experience? It could be, maybe you're not in a place where you can do something big and it's extravagant like that. Maybe it's hey, we're going to work together to have a night out on the town and spend a night in our local hotel. Get an Airbnb somewhere, have an adventure date somewhere where we're actually able to go to a movie out instead of in on our couch. It doesn't have to be the big extravagant things, but doing it together as a team, having that as a goal, it helps create those sort of that team feeling, that partnership. We're doing this together, we're winning together. And then you create an atmosphere in which you are really able to be successful in not only creating goals and keeping goals and doing them together, but also in really being able to achieve them together. And if you're not able to achieve them, being able to talk about it or create a space of, okay, this is why it didn't work, let's do this different. How do we do this different? We had the goal of holding hands every time when we got in the car, and now it's April and we've completely forgot about that goal. How do we reassess that goal? How do we go back to that goal and make it more of a habit and more of a challenge that we want to set together? Maybe we have the goal of setting more of what feels like more of a fair chore chart, so that it's not one person's thing going on. How are we doing? How are we checking in on that? These systems have to be in place so that you can check in with your partner, so that you can say, hey, this isn't going so well for me. Hey, this is working for me. This isn't working for me. And those things can be really, really helpful in creating a healthy relationship and creating goals. Some people, some other examples of successful couples that are able to do this is so I had that couple that I was telling you about that it does this every year, and they go to a hotel and they aren't interrupted by kids or life or things like that, and they have a nice dinner and they make these goals, and then typically every Sunday they're checking in on their goals. At first it takes a little bit more time, like half hour or so, and then they kind of get into a routine and habit, and they do it so much that it takes about 5-10 minutes. and they sit down and have a conversation eye to eye and actually check in on their goals. Hey, you said you wanted to read this book this week. How's it going? Did you get a chance to do that? How can I support you in doing that? It can be little things like that. It can be little things like, hey, did you make it to the gym this week? You had a goal of making it to the gym 3 times this week. Darn it only happened twice. What can we do better next week to help you achieve that goal, reach that goal? Is there a way that I can support you? Was that just you choosing not to go because I didn't feel good? Darn it, maybe you'll feel better next week. Like, what can I do to support you as a partner, support that individual goal? And here's our relationship goal. What can I do? What can we do together? This worked, this didn't work. Hey, you did this and it really hurt my feelings. Or I wasn't really prepared for that, or I wasn't expecting that. Or hey, when this happened on Wednesday, it didn't sit so well with me. Can we talk about it for a minute? And so some weeks, be flexible in the time that it takes. Sometimes weekly check-ins work for some couples. Sometimes it doesn't. I would encourage you to, at least once you have these goals in place, there has to be some sort of check-in system. And so whether it be weekly, sometimes that works better for people, whether it be kind of a quarterly check-in of like, hey, Q1 is over. We're at the end of March, 1st of April here, and now's our chance to go on a date. And when we go on that date, we're gonna bring our little sheet along that has our goals in it that we are able to talk about. This is what worked, this is what didn't work. How are we doing on this? You both are able to give that honest, open feedback and able to connect in a way that maybe is different, maybe is new for you. People a lot of times don't think about setting relationship goals because, again, relationships kind of become one of those things of like, we're good, we'll put it on the back burner. Our kids are more pressing right now. Our job is more pressing right now. The stress of living is harder right now. And so that's what we got to set goals on. That's what we got to be better at. And then our relationship sort of diminishes. It's not as good as it could be. And setting these relationship goals really doesn't have to be a big thing, doesn't have to be a stressful thing, but it can be a really powerful thing in helping you and your partner really stay connected. So I'd encourage you to think about, how do I set a goal? What do we set a goal on? How do I set those individual goals, and what support do I need from my partner? And what do I want our relationship to look like, right? I always dream of being that cute little old couple that just goes everywhere together, that just thoroughly enjoys loving spending time with my partner. And if I want to create that when my kids are all gone, and I want to be that couple who's going skiing together, going to fishing together, going on trips together, and just like soaking in as much adventure and love, and they sit down next to each other, and they always sit next to each other, and people are like, man, they have a great relationship, right? I want to be that type of couple. And if that's the vision that I want, I can't wait until I'm 75 to create that vision. What am I doing right now to help do that, right? So maybe that's a date night where we are doing some of these adventures together. Maybe that's a pause on life of just being able to say, hey, we've stopped kind of flirting, the flirty banter back and forth. Can we do a little bit more of that? Hey, we used to joke with each other. We used to play games together. We used to maybe play jokes on each other, and that doesn't happen anymore. Can we do a little bit more of that? Can we, what do we need to do, right? And that was something that really meant a lot to me, and it sort of faded. And so bringing that to the attention, bringing that to the awareness sometimes creates a whole change in and of itself that is fine, is good. You don't necessarily have to create a goal around it, but creating a small goal around it. We want to joke around a little bit more. We want to have sex more often. We want to go on dates more frequently. We want to spend more time together. Instead of watching TV at night together, we're going to have a conversation. Those are all things, those are all goals that help you come together as a couple. And when you are able to come together, sometimes it's a goal of saving money. Sometimes it's a goal of going on a trip. These are all examples of ways that, relationship setting goals together as a team can be very helpful in helping you continue to be successful in your relationship. It also makes it a little bit easier when we feel blindsided by different trials or different kind of things that happen in relationships come up. Again, doesn't make it easier, but sometimes it makes it a little bit more like, oh yeah, I kind of felt that coming, or we saw this coming, or this became kind of an issue and we were working on it, or we are working on it. It gives just kind of an open forum for both of you to talk about what you really are needing and wanting from your relationship, how to improve it, what to improve. Again, start small. Don't make the goals so big, like, again, I want to have this fantastic relationship that this 75-year-old couple has, or 95-year-old couple has. I don't want to, we can't be there yet. So what's the small thing that we can do right now in the midst of having children, or in the midst of being really busy and having lots of stress in life? What are some of those things that we can do to really create that, but do that now? Set those goals, make them small, make them attainable, and make sure you set the check-in process, right? That's where I see couples really, some couples are really great at making the goals. And then just like anything else, like we set those individual goals, like, oh, I'm going to lose 20 pounds, or I'm going to, go to the gym 5 times a week, or whatever. It starts really good for the first couple of weeks, and then it's not sustainable. People don't have the accountability. They're not checking in. They don't have that accountability person. And in relationship goals, you have the accountability person, right? Because you're setting them together. And so really making it your relationship goals specific, attainable, small, measurable, whatever you need to do to make it easy to check in on. Hey, are we being successful at going to a date night once a week or once a month? Or are we being successful at supporting each other with our individual goals? Here's how I'm feeling your support. Here's how I feel maybe you weren't as supportive as you could have been. This is what I need instead. That sets you up for huge success in your relationship, because you're able to be clear and direct about what you need from your partner to achieve your individual goals and your goals together as a couple. Goals are really important, but that check-in process of how are we doing is probably the more effective, most wonderful gift you could give your relationship, is having those systems in place. So being able to check in, having that system in place to be able to say, how are we doing, makes the goals work or not. I've so enjoyed talking about goals today. It's something I'm very passionate about. I think the healthiest relationships and people that really are the most successful in relationships have the ability to do this. It may not be a formal sit down, okay, here's our goals for 2023, but it may even just be conversations of like, hey, this is what I feel like could be better in our relationship. Hey, this is what I would like to see us do differently in our relationship. Hey, I would like a little bit more of this. It can be those conversations. It can be those conversations you have in a car on the way to a daughter's dance recital, or wherever you're going, a trip to the grocery store, and we're talking about really what we want to see better and different in our relationship. Those people who are continually having those conversations are typically the ones that have the most healthy, successful relationships. It's totally doable. You can do this in your relationship. Start small, set one goal today, and see it through. I, again, have loved talking about this with you. I think it's something that more people could do more, either formally or informally, and be successful at it. And I know that it will help your relationship, because it creates those forums to be able to have that feedback. And it makes a great relationship. So if you have any other questions or anything, shoot me an email, shoot me a text, talk to me about something. I'd love to answer any questions that you have and help help you be successful at setting goals in your relationship. Again, this is Chelsea with The Puzzle of Us, and can't wait to see you next week.